A pivotal year for Shane Beamer approaches in Columbia, South Carolina. What is the most important game for the Gamecocks in the 2024 season? Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. We're brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Guys, download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use promo code SECU for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, that's our friends at Prize Picks, promo code SECU to get your first deposit match today. A pivotal year approaches Shane Beamer, year 4 of the Beamer Ball era in Columbia, South Carolina. And after falling short of expectations a season ago, missing a bowl game, it's safe to say there was a lot of pressure, there's a lot of expectations, and there's a very close eye being kept by Gamecock fans on not just how many wins, but how things look in year 4 of the Shane Beamer era. You overachieved in year 1. You overachieved in year 2. And this time last year, vibes were high. Expectations were through the roof. And before it all came crashing down. How does South Carolina bounce back as we take a look, guys, at their 2024 schedule? There are a number of games you can look at and say, this is the most important game. That is the most important game. Guys, there's a lot of games on this schedule that a win could completely sway the direction, could change the direction the season goes. There's a lot of inflection point games on this schedule, guys. You start with the SEC opener at Kentucky. How about LSU, the home SEC opener? You have Ole Miss, you got Bama, you got Oklahoma, you got Texas A&M at home, Mizzou at home, who you haven't beaten in 5 tries. And then, of course, the rivalry game matchup end of season against Clemson. Guys, death taxes in South Carolina having one of the most difficult schedules in the SEC. But what that creates is a lot of opportunity. And South Carolina has a lot of opportunity yet again. Guys, like I mentioned, take your pick when it comes to this one. I mean, I can look at LSU. You got that home opener. I think for South Carolina to overachieve, right? Win total in Vegas right now, 5.5, I believe the over-under is. If you're going to get to a bowl game, bounce back with a freshman quarterback, get to a bowl game, which I think 7-5 or better for South Carolina would be considered a success. I think 6-6, you're still at least keeping your head above water. You're keeping some positive momentum when it comes to recruiting. You're being able to develop your quarterback, getting those extra practices in a bowl game. But I think if you want to get to 7-5, there's going to be, there's some of these home games you're probably going to have to steal. LSU, maybe Ole Miss, Juice Wells coming back to Columbia. You know the intensity in that one is going to be through the roof. Texas A&M and Mizzou late. Very, very interesting games, right? Texas A&M, year 1 of a new coach. They're still going to be very talented, but you could pull the upset there. You look at the game against Mizzou. That is one that just baffles Gamecock fans. How do you continue to lose that one year after year after year? And Mizzou's going to be very good this year, but at Williams-Brice Stadium, I think we know now this game is going to be an afternoon kickoff, which that late in the year will turn into a night kickoff at Williams-Brice Stadium. And, of course, guys, if you beat the arch rival, Clemson, you could go 1-11. Gamecock fans would deem that a success. But in all seriousness, if you get to that game with 5 or 6 wins, you add that extra win, you beat your rival. Shane Beamer knows after year 2 just how far that goes with the fan base. But, guys, as I take a look at this schedule, like I mentioned, there's a number of different directions you can go with this. When you talk, what's the most important game? What makes this so intriguing, guys, if you've been paying attention, what makes this so intriguing is I think the game of my choice, I think it's the most important game of the season for both teams. And very rarely do you find that, right? Again, after 5-7, getting back to a bowl game is the minimum expectation. It has to be, right? Year 4 of Shane Beamer. You've got to get back to a positive trajectory, especially, guys, after the way they revamped the roster. South Carolina should be a better football team this year. They revamped defensively, got more athletic in the front 7. The offensive line, it can't be any worse. But some of those young guys that played last year, they should be much better, take a step forward. Big questions at wide receiver, no doubt, but running back should be night and day better with Rocket Sanders taking over the running game. And then quarterback is your big question. What does LaNorris Sellers give you? The hype is through the roof, but realistically, first-year starter, still a young guy. They're going to use his legs a lot more. Quarterback run game is going to be a lot more present in South Carolina's offense. But what does the passing game look like? What does LaNorris Sellers give you on that front? You know there's going to be some growing pains there when you have a young quarterback. But, guys, when I look at this schedule, if you're going to get to a bowl game, I think if you're even going to have a chance to get to a bowl game, there's a couple 50-50 games in here you need to win. That game week 2 at Kentucky, guys. Week 2 at Kentucky, to me, it is the most important game of South Carolina's 2024 season. From the standpoint of, again, when you break down the schedule and wins, toss-ups, and losses, it looks like you've got 4 kick-in wins, guys. Old Dominion, Akron, Wofford, and then Vanderbilt and SEC play. And yes, I put Vandy because, listen, I don't care where the game is played. South Carolina's won like 15 in a row in the series. Until Vandy beats them, you got to chalk that up as a dub. So there are 4 kick-in wins. The question becomes, where do you find the other 2 wins? Are you going to beat LSU? Are you going to beat Ole Miss? How about Bama on the road? How about Oklahoma on the road? Texas A&M and Mizzou could be interesting. And then you got to go to Clemson. All of those games I just mentioned, guys, South Carolina is going to be an underdog. They're going to be an underdog in every single one of them. So here's the kicker, guys. Kentucky is a 50-50 game on the road, although Shane Beamer has owned Kentucky over the last couple of years. Even if you beat Kentucky, you're going to have to go out and win a game, guys. You're not supposed to win on paper. You're not supposed to win per the bookmakers, per the odds makers, I should say, in Vegas. You're going to have to do that. If you lose to Kentucky, you're going to have to win 2 of those games. And I think that might be a tall task, maybe too tall of a task for South Carolina. So that 50-50 matchup at Kentucky, LaNorris Sellers' first start. Again, there's a lot of mixed emotions right now in Columbia and around the Palmetto State. There's a lot of mixed feelings right now around Shane Beamer and his tenure there, although I think mostly the approval rating is positive, but there's a lot of people that are sort of getting closer and closer to that fence of, I don't know if this guy is the right guy. That game at Kentucky, you get a win, you're 2-0. All of a sudden, hey, you're going to be 3-1 after 4 games at minimum. All of a sudden, your goals are still in front of you. You lose to Kentucky, and you're 1-1 with LSU upcoming. Guys, if you lose to Kentucky, your first SEC win may not come until the second week of November. That's how big the Kentucky game is. So, again, guys, when you look at South Carolina's 2024 schedule, if you're going to get back to a bowl game, set the tone for the season early and get back to 6 wins. You know there are 4 nearly guaranteed wins on the schedule. You're going to have to win a toss-up game and probably another game that you're going to be the underdog in. Kentucky is that game for South Carolina in week 2 that bowl eligibility, I think, for 2024 hinges on. You've got to beat Kentucky. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. South Carolina must find a way, and they've had success of late. And this is a massive game for the Kentucky side as well. Going on the road, week 2, SEC opener. If South Carolina is going to get back to bowl eligibility in year 4 of Shane Beamer, that Kentucky game serves as a must-win and the most important game of South Carolina's 2024 season. So, guys, when you take a look at the schedule, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Would you go with LSU, Ole Miss, Bama, A&M, Mizzou, Clemson? Again, take your pick. There's a number of good games you can go with. What would you say is the most important game for Shane Beamer and the South Carolina Gamecocks in the 2024 season? Guys, that's going to do it all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.